Justin Trudeau is slowly losing grip of his leadership after this week's brownface scandal, in which Time magazine obtained images of Trudeau from 2001 wearing dark makeup, and it could be good news for post-Brexit Britain if he is usurped in Canada's imminent general election. The makeup was part of an Aladdin costume worn by a 29-year-old Trudeau during an Arabian Nights themed party, back when he was a teacher in Vancouver. During his apology, the Liberal Party leader also confessed to having worn blackface to perform a Jamaican folk song Deo at a talent show, and admitted he does not know how many times he has brown-faced in his life. After 4 years as Canadian Prime Minister, this revelation could prove costly for Trudeau in upcoming elections, where up until this week it has been tight between him and the Conservative Party. Expert UBC political scientist Max Cameron told the Vancouver Sun that while Trudeau's apology hit all the right notes, the scandal could have devastating repercussions for general elections in Canada, which take place on the 21st of October. He clearly gets that this is a problem, but there's a question in my mind. Is this something you can come back from? There are many ridings where the margin of victory is very narrow. Trudeau had jumped ahead in the polls just as the scandal was about to unravel. Cameron also claimed this could cost Trudeau regions that would have otherwise safely voted Liberal, calling the impact a dent in the strongest part of his armor. With polling so close up until now, it seems there is a good chance that Conservative Party leader Andrew Scheer will take on the reins as Canada's leader, which could be good news for Boris Johnson. Like Mr. Johnson, he pledged toughness on crime as a core message of his campaigning. He has formed a good relationship with Mr. Johnson, as well as Chancellor Sajid Javid, who he also met in 2018 on a visit to the UK. He could prove to be more than just a friend for Mr. Johnson, but also an important ally as Britain's EU exit looms. In 2016, Scheer backed Britain's departure from the EU, lauding the democratic gifts the British people gave the world: responsible government, the Westminster parliamentary system, ordered liberty and the common law. Scheer discusses the Remain campaign's economic arguments, Canada's own freedom, and how the EU in his view is restricting Britain's sovereignty. He wrote in an article for the National Post just 3 days before the referendum, the Remain side tells Britons that a vote for exiting the EU is akin to choosing economic and political uncertainty. Voters are led to believe there's no other option. They must accept the bureaucratic excesses of Brussels, which even the Remain supporters can't defend, to avoid disruption, isolation and decline. It's a profoundly negative and simplistic vision that just happens to be wrong. Scheer believed in 2016 that Britain could use the referendum as an opportunity to radicalize its governance and avoid what he believes to be extensive regulations. He added, Britain's foreign economic relations with historic partners such as Canada are now subject to an effective veto from countries such as Romania and Bulgaria. Then there's the host of EU regulations covering everything from hairdressers to vacuum cleaners and olive oil. In contrast, current Prime Minister Trudeau urged Britain in 2016 to remain in the EU, claiming it would not be easy for the UK to replicate Canada's trade deal with Brussels. Trudeau said, Britain is always going to have clout. It's just obviously amplified by its strength as part of the EU. I believe we're always better when we work as closely as possible together, and separatism, or division, doesn't seem to be a productive path for countries. Going forward after Britain does leave, it is clear that a Scheer administration in Canada would value British partnership. In 2018 he tweeted that he would seek a free trade deal with the UK if elected in 2019. Trudeau appears to be on the brink, and therefore it is plausible that Canada will soon be led by a Brexit sympathizer.